guys, a very warm welcome back to Offshore Adventures. I'm Nikki and this is Bob. In this episode we're going to be looking at docking with twin engines.
Yes, a number of you have dropped messages on our previous films and asked about that particular subject, just really about slow manoeuvring when you're in and around the berth where you keep your boat. So we thought we'd put something together, a little bit of theory, and perhaps then just show you how we manoeuvre the boat in and around our berth here at Neyland. Yes, a very warm welcome back to all of those of you who have subscribed to our channel, and many thanks indeed for that. And of course, if you're just getting to us for the first time, then please do have a look at some of the other films we've done, and also consider subscribing to the channel because it is absolutely free. Of course, one first thing to say is that this is obviously based on our experience of the MF895 Offshore, which is equipped with the two Yamaha 200 engines. Obviously inboards, perhaps if you've got twin props as inboards, a different boat, bigger, smaller boats, it may obviously have slight differences with the way it works, but I suspect the principles will probably be pretty similar across the range of different boats. But just to say that obviously our experience and our information, or the information in this film, is just based on that experience of this 895. Okay, so on this absolutely sweltering day today, which is all of about 29 degrees, it was saying on the car as we were driving over, the theory of the way that you can use the port and starboard engines to turn the boat without in effect using the steering, which I think, having now used it for a number of months, find it actually easier than using the steering, easier just to use the two engines. And the theory obviously is that whilst one is in forward and one is in reverse, you get the ability then to pivot the boat completely 180 degrees on the spot, and therefore with a combination of that forward and reverse and larger or smaller inputs of forward and reverse, together with the bow thruster and slight use of the bow thruster, you can either therefore get the boat to completely spin round 360 degrees, 180 degrees, or you can use it in combination to get, with the bow thruster, to get the boat to actually move sideways, perhaps towards a pontoon or a dock. If, with the wonders of modern technology and a piece of card cut from last night's barbecue sausage wrapper, you can see, no expense spared here. So if you imagine this being our boat, and the boat turns from the midpoint always. So if with the twin engines at the back here, if we have just the starboard engine in forward, the boat will just gradually turn to the left, and it's only with both at forward in tick over that the boat obviously goes straight. With the port engine only in forward, it would then turn gradually in a large circle. However, if you then add to the mix the two engines, so if, for example, you've got your starboard engine in forward, just in tick over, and your port engine in reverse, the boat then will be inclined to turn completely on the spot. Now, it may be, if you've got, say, wind or current, it may be that you just have to make slight changes to the port or the starboard engine in terms of revs, just to counteract the action of that tide or that current. But in effect, if the water was calm, with the starboard in forward, with the port in reverse, the boat will pivot on that centre spot. So if you then add to the mix the fact that you've got your bow thruster, then what you can achieve using that is that as you, for example, have the starboard engine in forward, which tends to bring the boat that way, and you then use your bow thruster to starboard, you then, in effect, you're doing that shunting movement. But if you get the two working together, you will actually be able to move the boat completely sideways, because as the boat wants to pivot that way with the starboard engine in forward, then so your bow thruster will correct that and you'll gradually, imperceptibly be going sideways. And it's really as straightforward as that. If you want to turn obviously quicker or sharper, then sometimes if I'm coming straight out of the pontoon, I'll come out a bit, but then if I want to turn sharply, because there's obviously boats ahead of us here, then I'll tend to perhaps just use the port engine in reverse, and that therefore pulls the front round much quicker than if you had both engines. If you had the starboard in forward and the port in reverse, then it might tend to bring you round in that sort of angle, whereas if as we got out of the pontoon here, we just used more reverse on the port engine, then it would tend to turn us much quicker like that, and off we'd go. So as I say, it's that practice of messing around with your port and starboard, the mixture of forward and reverse or vice versa, to then experiment to see how quick you need to turn, but also the fact that you can, if you get the balance right between the two, taking into account tide and wind, you can then pivot the boat completely, almost on the spot, 180 or 360 degrees. So that's the theory. So anyway, we'll try doing a couple of bits out and about in and around the pontoon here, just to show you that actually working. All at very slow, of course, back to my original mantra, which was, of course, everything is done as dead slow as possible. You know, 1 or 2 knots, you've got plenty of time to react, then plenty of time to get the feel of the tide, the current, how that's affecting the boat, and therefore whether you need to put perhaps a little bit more reverse, a little bit more forward, whichever combination of those two. But anyway, absolutely dead slow, and then really you can't go wrong or get yourself into too much trouble. Of course, the theory as well is that you start with your engines dead straight, so that with this particular boat, when the seat is back and the engines are down, from here you can just see the tops, but once the engines are down, you can't actually physically see from the helm station which directions your engines are facing. So either I'll ask Nikki just to have a quick check, make sure they are where I think they are, or you know, if you've got space and the time, you can just stretch back and just about get a view, if you're by yourself, say, coming in on the boat. But engines dead straight, perhaps work out, as we have, the fact that when the engines are fully straight, the Jeanneau marking is which position it's in. It's actually upside down in this one, I think. Yes, the Jeanneau marking is actually upside down, the logo, and when it's in that position, I know that roughly the engines are going to be straight, dead ahead. So in terms of coming off the berth itself, once we've released the springers on the right hand side here, then it's a case of just a quick check to see whether there's any significant wind and or tide that might be pushing us either across the alleyway here, or indeed back towards the berth. Northerly winds push us down that way away from the berth, and then as we come out of the berth, just with a tiny bit of bow thrust to port side, so it just brings the front out slightly. Once the front starts moving away from the berth, from the pontoon itself, no steering input on the engines at the back there, and then as we start to go out into the alleyway there, it's then just a case of once clear of the pontoon, doing that 90-degree turn, so that's a little bit of reverse on the port engine, and then depending on wind, either keep the starboard one in a tick over in forward position, or indeed just leave the starboard in neutral and the port side in reverse, which then turns the boat 90 degrees. And hopefully later on this morning we might be able to get some footage of actually the boat's ability to do a complete 360 almost on its centre point, using that technique, a mixture of the bow thruster and then the two engines working against each other in forward and reverse, just in that straightforward position with no steering. And just before we untie everything, quick reference point up there, you've got the flag confirming that we've got a northerly wind blowing at the moment, which means it comes directly down from further up the marina there, straight the way down and on out to our intended exit route, which is out that way. So of course, as soon as we're untied and on the move, then the tendency will be for us to be blown across the other side of this seaway that gives access to the berths here. So that's obviously something immediately that once we're running and starting to move, that we'll bear in mind on the move. So untied, Nicky's looking after us on there. We'll undo the gate so that young Nicky can get back in easily. And then, so as we were saying earlier, a bit of wind blowing us out of the berth. So I normally don't touch the steering at all, in effect, just a tiny little bit of bow thrust to port, and then as we start to move forward, and a tiny blip of throttle, and as we start to move forward, that's when you can use the reverse. You can pull this one towards you on the port side and a little bit of forward on this one, and that then, without any steering input at all, will then start to rotate the boat to the left. So let's see if all goes to plan. So a slight bit of bow thrust to the port side. That's just moved us away there from the berth. Just change the line of the boat slightly, so then just a tiny blip of throttle, and then that's now already starting to move us forward. Just see that forward movement there. And then just as the back end is clearing the berth, we can then engage the reverse, and you can see then the boat is already starting to pivot round. You can give it a tiny bit, so we've now got one on tick over forward, one on tick over reverse, no steering input, and you can see the way the boat is just turning round completely. So I'll now put both engines into forward. Still no steering input as such, so you can see there that we've turned 90 degrees, and then by using the controls here, just dragging one back, say into reverse, you can just then turn the boat. We're going to turn right out of the berth here, so again I'll put the starboard engine in reverse, and you can see, and the port engine in neutral, and then just give it a little bit of reverse there, a tiny bit of revs, and you can see now we're turning again 90 degrees. You can see the boat coming round. We'll put the port engine in forward, and that then works with the starboard engine in reverse. So then again you can see us, we're almost pivoting on the spot as we turn 90 degrees out of that out of the berth. So now that we're straight, that's both engines in forward. We're just moving slightly to starboard, so I'll give the port engine a little bit of a blip to straighten us out again. So you can see there that we are basically keeping the boat, or steering the boat, using those port and starboard movements, which at slow speed is definitely very achievable. It means you don't have to keep going back to look at your engines, and if you can get the feel of that, and just get particularly of course on a relatively low wind day, perhaps a bit less wind than today, when you first start trying it out, just leave the steering wheel alone, and then just get the flavour of how those twin engines give you that really increased manoeuvrability at low speed, whether it be getting out or in to the berth. So anyway, that's us out of the berth. So we'll just now head on out into the Haven estuary. So just on the move, Nicky's just given it a tiny bit of port side bow thrust. There again, you just hear the bow thruster going. So we're just dead slow bringing it out of the berth. until we clear this the back end here. And then that allows us out into the lane here. Nikki is using reverse there mainly. And that mixture of reverse and a bit of bow thrust, and it turns us 90 degrees. So once again, no steering input. Morning. And as we come out there once again, so Nikki's now gone starboard into reverse. You can see us now just turning to starboard. Again, engines are running straight. And then she's just come round that next 90-degree turn as we've manoeuvred out. Again, the key to that, just dead slow. Get the feel of wind and tide and how it's going to affect you as you come out. So as we're coming in terms of docking, a quick check as we're coming up towards our turn is just to see what the first of all the wind's doing. You can see by the flags that Nikki's just picking up there that there's a slight wind coming down the marina, so northerly wind, so that will tend to push us obviously to the left as we turn into our pontoon area. And then as we start coming up towards our turn itself, then I just position or get the engines dead straight, and Nikki will just so the only slightly frustrating thing is you can't see whether the engines are actually dead straight or not.
Yeah, they're straight now.
And then from then on we just leave the steering out and just bring her in completely using the two outboards working against each other. And then if you get any slight movement to port, then it's just a question of bringing the starboard engine into reverse, and that just corrects the front of the boat. You'll see there, as I bring that one into reverse, you'll see the front of the boat just moving to the right there. We're now both ahead slow forward, just keeping her nice and steady and bringing her in very slow. Our berth is the next left turn, so just bringing the power completely off there and just allowing the speed to come off, switching the bow thrusters on and just letting the boat drift in. The key thing is just speed or lack of it. Absolutely everything nice and slow. You've got plenty of time then to react to what might be happening in front of you. So we're doing a 90-degree left here, so that's just the port engine into reverse. We can bring the starboard engine into forward, and then to bring the boat round a bit quicker we can just increase the port reverse, and you can see there we're just turning, literally turning almost on the spot 90 degrees. And as she starts to come into the berth there, I bring now both engines back to forward. We can use the bow thruster as well just to line us up there, because you remember the wind is just pushing us over to the left hand side there. So, and our berth you remember is the one just over there next to the yacht named Julia. So you can see I'm just letting it come in really steadily till I'm alongside, and then I'll bring all the speed off completely. And now just a little bit of reverse just to start stopping her completely. You can see us coming to almost a standstill there. And then now the port engine into reverse, and you'll see the front end now and the boat just starting to pivot on the spot here. just getting the feel of it. Feel whether you're being pushed along by the wind. If you are, then you can very soon put both into reverse, but you can see we are just starting to pivot on the spot now and gradually coming round. Just a bit more reverse on the port engine, and the back of the boat's now just starting to drift round. Just slow and steady. It's just a matter of watching all parts of the boat just to get the feel of what the wind and or tide might be doing. So we can just get the feeling there that, and we want to just now start to bring both engines to reverse, because we're just coming round to line up with our berth there, and back out into neutral. Just get the flavour of where the boat is heading. So we're just starting to back into the right spot now. Now to bring the back right, the starboard rear of the boat over, you can put the starboard engines forward and the port engine into reverse. But as you can see there, we're just lining up well with the berth. Now we've got both engines in reverse, and we're just letting it drift back, keeping an eye on the front of the boat as well, in case we need any sort of bow thrust. And just bringing it back there. So a tiny bit of bow thrust just to straighten us up, and then both into reverse, just to start bringing us back into the berth. You see now Nikki's hopped off at the earliest opportunity then, just in case, so she can then guide us back in, but in effect it's coming back in, lined up by itself there, and that's just the two engines working against or with each other to keep the boat manoeuvred, turn it 90 degrees, reverse it, and all those fine adjustments using the bow thruster and those engines working against each other. So that's with no steering from just outside the berth there, with no steering at all, and you can get really good control there from the two engines themselves. Hopefully that all made sense. So hopefully guys that made sense. Key thing there as we came in there is as I said, is the lack of speed. Literally dead slow, gives you plenty of time to react then, and by travelling that slowly you also of course get very much the feel of what the tide and or wind is doing to the boat, which are key inputs when it comes to just getting that fine tuning and getting her reversed into the berth here. Obviously you can of course you know, add steering inputs, but really A, it's not entirely necessary, and B, then you can just learn to get the feel of those the two throttles using port and starboard against each other. And you saw there, particularly as we turned in to the berth, did the 90-degree turn then, how manoeuvrable and how very easy it is to literally just pivot it on its center point. Obviously it turns sort of right on the midpoint of the boat, so it literally can do a 360. If you get the balance of port and starboard, she'll do a 360 almost on that central point down the middle line of the boat here. But something definitely worth practicing. Start on a calm night and give it a go. Perhaps where you've got some more open space, certainly in the marina here, out in these bits as you come into the marina, there's lots more space, and you can very quickly get the feel then without the worry of perhaps touching another boat or your own, of course, on some of the berths and pontoons around us. But that once you've cracked that, then it becomes a straightforward process then, and you'll realise how despite its increase in size from our 795, how much more manoeuvrable it actually is. And in fact, over here, some good friends of ours with their fantastic little 795. Brings back very fond memories of our time with the 795. But despite, as I say, that increase, and it's more than double the weight, the 895, you get much more manoeuvrability. So give it a go. Looking very leisurely and relaxed in there, Nicole?
Yes.
Oh, the kettle's on. Damn good idea. Well, okay, hopefully that with the wonders of my cardboard sausage wrapper, you found some of that of use. I hope it answers some of those questions indeed. Do of course add, we love to get your comments and or questions down below the film there. So do fire any more questions or make any comment you like on the end of the film. But thanks very much for watching.
Yes, thanks very much indeed, and we look forward to producing another film very soon. So it's goodbye from me.
And bye guys. Bye now.
Bye.